that last fight. What was it, 3 weeks
There
ago?
we go. All right, we finally fixed those technical difficulties, so now we're recording. So welcome to the hey David, how's it going? So welcome to everybody to the first episode of 6 Degrees Up Pod. This is a new podcast I'm starting to introduce people with interesting hobbies, jobs, lives. And this is my good friend David Olivas. David, would you call yourself a hip hop musician or hip hop rap? What's the distinction there? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, a hip hop artist. I'm a person of many interests. I do a music review podcast with my man Jinx. I have interest in. I'm trying to get into voiceover work, that whole world. So, but yeah, man. I would say just a hip hop artist, someone who loves music. I've been a frontman in a lot of different types of. Well, I've been involved in different projects over the years, including being a frontman in like new metal or rap rock kind of bands. You know, several years back. I've been involved in a lot of different genres of music, but yeah, I'd be honored to be considered a hip hop artist because the hip hop is the music and culture that is kind of my first love. In terms of art that really spoke to me.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that because we were talking about this before the podcast started when we were having the technical difficulties, and we were kind of estimating we've known each other for 20, 22 years, something like that. We met in high school. So it's been a while, and I have like a distinct memory of us being in high school and you being really passionate about rap and hip hop. Especially like in an area where most people weren't. Like, we're in the Northwest. It's kind of like a grunge scene, and you were like the hip hop guy. What got you into that, and who were your inspirations? If I remember right, you were were you like a Tupac fan? I'm trying to remember. It's been, like I said, it's been a couple decades now. So
It's no big deal. Yeah, man. I always, definitely Tupac, Bone Thugs and Harmony.
oh yeah.
I mean, I, DJ Quick. A lot of it was, more. I got into East Coast, or I learned more about East Coast hip hop when I was a little older, but it was definitely a lot of West Coast stuff for me, and it was kind of the time period too. We're talking, when we went to school together. I was, 12, 13, 14, and so that time, was, West Coast music was really on top. It was right when Death Row Records was really on top of the game, and Dr. Dre was just breaking off and starting Aftermath, and it's kind of at the tail end of that West Coast dominance period of hip hop that sort of happened from the early '90s until about '97 or so. But yeah, man, there was I remember the first scene. I wasn't really, my mom wasn't into music with all that cuss, so I had to hide the CDs in between. I would hide them in between my my mattress and the bed frame, and then I'd only listen to them on my Discman. Listen to
Yeah.
leave the house, walk around the neighborhood, and listen, get my Bone Thugs in on the Discman. So
All right. Yeah, I remember you like just writing lyrics too. Like you were like really into that too, also, right?
yeah, man. I always enjoyed writing. That was even something in school when I was a kid that enjoyed doing. Like I wasn't didn't really love math or anything, but the creative writing, and when you could just write little stories or whatever, that was always my favorite part. And yeah, for me, I started the first time I remember writing song lyrics. So it was probably sixth or seventh grade. Our friend, Denny, he was like a big brother to me, encouraged me a lot.
Yep.
He, kind of helped with a few lyrics I had to, because he played guitar, played some guitar riffs. So, but for me, hip hop was something that, first, like I said, in between hip hop and like '60s Motown are really my absolute favorite kinds of music, and a lot of hip hop, obviously draws from that soul, '60s and '70s Motown soul influence. A ton of those songs are sampled for beats and everything. So those two being my favorite kind of music. And I'll be honest with you, man. I'm not a singer. It's not pretty.
I couldn't hold a note to save my life, so I'm with you on that one.
that wasn't an option for me, So, but if you can, if you can, write something that moves people, in the hip hop genre, and I ain't gotta be able to sing. So that was something that, yeah, I always. It was just something that spoke to me, man. I mean, the way the 808s and bass. I mean, just the way a good beat hits, and then the
Hmm.
way a lyricist can make you feel. You can tell so much more of a story, and it's not that you can't. There's definitely like advantages to the other side of it, but hip hop, as compared to most kinds of music, there's just more words, right? I mean, you
Right.
got a 16 bar verse that a rapper does. I mean, he's spitting way more in there because you're not singing it, you're not drawing it out. So I mean, just the average, rap verse is gonna have, you know, 4 or 5 times the words as, maybe the verse in a rock song or a blues song or country, whatever. So there's an opportunity to really, tell a lot in still a small song. And it still could be a 3 minute song, and you could get a lot of message across there, or
You're not
where.
taking up time the way they doing the runs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's not. I mean, there's not really usually a guitar solo where there's not. I mean, and there's just not. Yeah. If you just Google lyrics for a verse of, a song from any other genre versus rap, there's just way more lyrics, more, and that's just because of the nature of it. It's a spoken. It's like a spoken word form. Kind of, as opposed to sing.
Yeah, yeah, and I totally understand what you're saying. Like the rap music and hip hop, that bass, it like kind of hits you, like it simulates a heartbeat. So you like it really gets you in a way that other music genres don't. Other music genres, I kind of feel like they kind of are floating, sing songy and stuff. But like sometimes in the rap music, when that bass hits, it's like a punch to the gut. And you're like, oh, I felt that like deep. So I always appreciate that about hip hop and rap. Um, so I
So
wanted
talk
to
about
kind of move. What's that?
yeah. Oh, I was like, yeah,
Oh,
man. It gets you, and it touches on a lot. I mean, it's become part of popular culture now, But I
yeah.
mean, they were trying to ban it. It was a genre that's always been like honest to portray, a side of America that, not a lot of people, outside of those artists, neighborhoods were seeing, right?
Hmm.
And that was something they were trying to ban. They were trying to censor. They were trying to, act like it was, gonna fuck everything up. And then now, I mean, Pepsi, all these major corporations, all these guys are, they got rappers on the payroll. I mean, it's definitely come a long ways, So it's that's also something else
Yeah.
that's always you know at the time that I fell in love with it, it was definitely it was, like punk was in the 80s or late 70s or something. It was the type of music that was speaking for people that didn't have a voice.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of like counterculture. And if I might be wrong, but I think that it's the reason that there's the warning labels on music now, right? Like, it wasn't that like the original push.
It was Two Life Crew, wasn't it? Two Life Crew, that yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
was Tipper Gore, Al Gore. I don't know. Al Gore must have been like a senator because this was like the late
Yeah.
'80s. I think Two Life Crew did. Oh man, I
Was
can't
it
remember
Cop
the name of
Killer?
the album. No, that was
It
Ice
was.
T.
That's what. Okay. That's
It
what I
wasn't
thought.
Two
Yeah.
Life. Yeah, we. It was we want. It was we want something. Let's just.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I
don't
forgot
don't.
to ask you if I should like not cuss excessively before the podcast. So I think
We'll keep it at a minimum. Let's not go too far.
we can edit. Just kidding. He did an edit. There's no cussing. You didn't hear it. But yeah, anyway, yeah. Two Life Crew did this album that was real, pretty extreme for the time, especially. And they came up with the parental advisory. Explicit content was, and it wasn't the only one. I mean, there was some. I think there was some rock music too. But it was definitely the rap music corrupting the impressionable white youth of America that was upsetting to these rich people and these senators.
I remember this.
Yeah.
So I was kind of curious on the transition. Like I said, I remember you in high school. you were writing, you were really inspired by it, and then all of a sudden, I'm seeing on social media that you're performing, you're in these bands, and it just kind of from the outside, it just kind of happened, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'm happy for him, but I don't know the story behind how you finally made the move to performing and cutting albums and stuff like that. So how did you go about doing that? Because I think a lot of people get stuck, like if they're passionate about this kind of thing, um, they don't know where to go. So how did you do it?
Yeah, man. I mean, definitely. I mean, it might be is a different time when I was starting out, so everything from then may not be applicable for now. But it's definitely. I mean, if you're passionate about something, then you just got to go for it and find some way to force your way in and be outside of your comfort zone. I mean, and that was something I definitely had to do from the beginning because I didn't have anybody. I went to a bunch of different schools. I mean, after you and I went to school together, I was in a different school every year of high school.
Right.
I didn't really have like a base of like. I mean, I was born in Bremerton and grew up there, but then I bounced around for a while when I was a teenager, and there wasn't really any like home set group of people that were. I didn't really have like a mentor or anything right away, or a group of people that also did music or whatever. So it was kind of about putting myself out there and trying to meet people. Going to local shows. I mean, that's a great. If you're talking about somebody who's trying to break into music, go to local shows. Assuming the local shows start again. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
it's been rough. It's been a year since I performed, man, and that's it's the by far the longest I've gone without playing a show since I was like 20 years old. But yeah, so for me, it was just really about getting. Feel free to, if I get too long winded, man, get me back on track. I might
Oh, no problem.
meander too much. I broke into it just from when I was at Olympic College in Bremerton when I was like 18, doing running start, and I they had just started their digital music studio that year in like 2003.
Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, they put Pro Tools in there, or right when Pro Tools started. Digital recording is the complete standard now, but at the time it was still a debate, like analog versus digital,
Right,
because
right,
there were still guys with tape, and then computer recording was just really starting to catch up, and now it's some people record on tape if you can afford to and you want to go for that sound, but 90% of everything is done digitally. Uh, so they had a studio there. I took a class to be in that studio, and then I basically didn't go to any of my other classes, and as a result,
right.
poorly overall in the GPA department. But I just pretty much for I just like cut out my. And they had a chord Triton keyboard in there, which was just this kind of state of the art keyboard where you could sample all these. You could play hundreds of different instrument sounds. And I never really was a like a piano player, but I could pick stuff out, and then you could sample stuff and loop stuff, and you could make a whole beat on that keyboard. So that's where it started for me, was just kind of recording songs there in that Olympic College studio when I was like 18, and the quality was not because of the studio, but just because I was mixing it myself. I was in the studio recording class. The quality was terrible. Um, my songs were terrible. They were embarrassing. I'm pretty sure I've like burned all the copies of that original stuff, and then or threatened anyone that still has copies.
Right.
But so it's definitely. But that's just how you learn, man. It's a learning process. Now, there's some young artists now that their first song they record is amazing, and I don't know, it wasn't like that for me. I made a lot of really bad songs for a long time before I kind of
Then
found my. I kind of still. Just throughout the years that I found, I've accepted that this is just a reality. I kind of hate everything that I've ever done that's more than a couple years old. Like it starts to sound just bad to me, and I listen to it and it's painful. I'm like, oh fuck, why did I do that? So I'll be like, I use like, oh yeah, this is when I remember when I put it out, like this song is so dope. I'm definitely like 26-year-old me, like I'm definitely gonna be famous because of this song. This is the one. This is fire right here. And then like 2 years later, I'm like, it was all right. It was pretty good.
right, that's probably just part of like the growing process, right? Like
5 years later, oh my gosh, I never want that song ever again. So you know, uh, I just watched you on video. Do you still got? Okay, there you go.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's yeah. Just know for anybody watching the video feed, it's cutting out every couple minutes. It's fine. I'm not gone. It just I'll fix it later.
that was the first time I saw it. So cool.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, man. So from there, I mean, I just kind of you start to make music. I met a few other people in that class. It's actually the studio I'm in right now. One of the co-owners of the studio, my man Doc Blackwell. Shout out to Lions Den Entertainment. I met him and his brother when I was like 18 in that class. They came to they were rappers. They came into see about recording there, and people in the class could like choose, other people to work with and come in and record, so I could like learn and stuff. So they put me on to they threw a Sir Mix-a-Lot show at Olympic College there in like 2003 or maybe 2002. I think it was 2003. I was either 17 or 18.
Nice.
And that was like the second. I played like one other show somewhere. I don't remember but that was like the second show I ever played. I did like one song I got to open, but I went to the computer lab there at Olympic College. 'Cause I didn't have a computer. I wasn't even living at home. But I had a computer lab I could use at OC there. I went and made these like little crappy flyers on. I think I made them on Microsoft Paint, like no joke. Then I split them into fours and printed like 100 of them using using Olympic College's computer paper. Cut them all up, and then I just went around campus passing them out. Littered the
Nice.
whole place. I think I still got some somewhere. So, and then it just kind of went from there, man. You meet people, you get into it, and you just stay. I mean, something that some people like my music, some people don't, but anybody in the local scene has never been able to question my work ethic and my promotion skills, and it's really just about just talking to people, just believing it. I mean, if you don't believe in what you're doing, then nobody else is going to, right? Like, I mean,
Right, right. So
it
like
doesn't.
that's really
It,
what it is like the networking with people and just putting yourself out there and
yeah,
just
man,
the
just
grind,
recording,
right? That's what did it.
trial and error, a lot of grinding, a lot of work, a lot of failing, but recording, practicing. I mean, when I was so after in high school and afterwards, I did a little bit of solo hip hop recordings. Didn't really go anywhere. I mean, I performed at like my high school's talent shows and stuff like that. I did a few shows, did the Sir Mix-a-Lot show, but I never had like a big catalog of songs that I really was comfortable putting out. And then when I was about in my early 20s, got with there was a guy I had met in high school as a guitar player, and we started doing some stuff that was kind of like POD or Rage Against the Machine inspired,
Okay.
in that vein. Generally, it was kind of late because we were doing it like '08 and '09, and new metal kind of flamed out in about '03 because Limp Bizkit happened, and then this was all. But no, I'm just playing. Corn happened too. But so and we actually, I mean, we had some success with that. I was in two different bands, Redemption City and then Crush Proof Juice Box, and both bands had a lot of the same people in them. And we were at a point with the band Crush Proof in 2010 or so where we had a manager. We recorded at Robert Lang Studios in Seattle, through him, a connection he had there, which is just an amazing studio, man. It's if you look it up, it's a legendary studio in Washington. There's anybody you can think of is recorded there. They had Nirvana and Alice in Chains,
Oh
gold
wow.
record recorded in there, and they this whole wall of just the names of people. Damian Marley was one of the ones that was cool to me. The Welcome to Jamrock album, which is one I really like, was recorded there. I got to take a picture just holding the gold record, so
Wow.
it was really cool, man. And our manager had we had an opportunity to be booked on a tour with Skillet, who was a pretty big band at that time. And then like right when stuff was starting to go good, it kind of fell apart, for reasons I won't get into. But people they go their separate ways, and so just and that just and we had a lot of good times with those dudes, but it just didn't work out. People went their separate
Right,
ways.
right.
So and then it was after that, about so 8 years ago or so, about 2012, 2013, I started getting back into a duo that was called Endgame, and then myself as a solo artist. In about 2015, I put out one full length album, one EP of some singles. I have another EP I'm sitting on,
Oh
a bunch
nice.
of recorded I haven't put out yet. It's just kind of about trying to perfect it. And I'm really not on a put. I'm not really on a time crunch as much as I used to be, or I'm not trying to pressure myself. I used to feel like I had to, it was really important to be really active, and I played. I played over 300 shows in my life. Played shows all the time. I'd be on, running around in the Pacific Northwest area for quite a bit, for several years. But and then it felt like you had to like rush stuff, and you weren't always happy with the quality or whatever. So now I'm just like, if I'm gonna put something out, it's gonna be just how I want it to be, and I won't have any regrets about it. So.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So I remember seeing that you were like on stage, and I don't know if I could do it. So I don't understand how you have the confidence to do that. Like how you must be does that something that comes natural to you, or do you have to fight like to get up on stage, and or do you just love it? Do you just love performing like that energy? Because it looks like it would be amazing. If I had the confidence to do that.
Well, I definitely love it, man, but it didn't. And I think that there's probably a combination of maybe some people are more predisposed, but I think that everybody, even if it maybe comes more naturally to you than somebody else, I think everybody's scared the first time you get on stage. And I'll tell you, I actually I remember the first time I kind of performed in front that was like outside of like a just a high school party or something, with my
Mm.
friends, but just in like a sort of public setting was at this little it was like a it was in Belfair. It was like their like summer festival. A place usually goes like a week or something. For Belfair, it lasts like 3 hours.
Yeah.
They block off like the street in between QFC and the street in between Safeway or whatever, and that's it. There's some booths and everything. There's like
Yeah.
one music. It was like a music tent,
Yeah.
and I was doing 5 songs. I had some friends that had like learned. It was my hip hop songs, but they had like learned the instrument. So I was playing with the live band. We got 4 or 5 practices in there. We kind of pulled it off, but
Nice.
and people were just kind of walking by. Like there was a couple people who stopped and like, oh, okay, this is a thing that's happening. But, I mean, I was doing some hip hop shit in Belfair in 2003, and I was wearing. But here's what I remember: I was wearing Jinkos like a cool person in 2003.
Oh man.
My pair of Jinkos that my mom got me secondhand, and my right leg, just one leg, was shaking so bad. But luckily, because the Jinkos,
You can
like,
see it.
put both my legs in one of those legs. Yeah, you couldn't see. So the Jinkos saved me. People being able to tell how scared I was. But yeah, man, I think it was pretty scary the first few times, but it felt like something that when I was like prepared for it, and then you just kind of lose yourself in it, and I've always been interested in entertainment. I
Mm.
mean, when I was a little kid, I had this little tape recorder. I would like record, radio shows and little comedy stuff.
All right.
When I was like 11 or 12, I did this. This shipyard had like a telethon thing where they like produced this whole video with kids like doing a fake telethon to raise
Oh.
money for their real cause. And I was like the host of that. There's this little corny thing where it was, like with little kids with phone banks. It was like me and this girl, like
Oh yeah,
just
you were just hosting the telethon.
yeah. So I've had a certain level of comfort, like from a entertainment standpoint. But I mean, it was still definitely scary, getting on stage, and I, even as time goes on, I really love it, and it's a real big adrenaline rush and release, to perform in front of a crowd. And I've always felt like, you know, um, like I said, I don't consider myself to be from, if we're just talking about hip hop music, I don't consider myself to be the greatest songwriter, lyricist, anything like that. I think I'm good at what I do, but as a performer, I mean, I feel like I stack up against, you know, a lot of people, most anybody I perform with, I haven't really ever been afraid to follow anyone, and I really enjoy it. And but there's this kind of nervousness that comes from like wanting to do it. Like I never worry about getting on stage, because I practice a lot, I'm prepared, but I like when I'm waiting for it to happen, I want it to hurry up and happen. So I kind of hate like the 5 hours leading up to a show. It's just
Oh,
like
the anticipation beforehand is worse than the actual performing part, because then when you're performing you're in the moment, right?
yeah,
Like
right. And it's doing it, but you have all this kinetic energy, like just like waiting, waiting.
right,
And
right.
people want to talk and stuff and hang out. And I'm real good at like hanging out and talking afterwards, but like before, I'm just like I just would rather just be by myself and wait it out. you know?
Right, or just be by yourself and like kind of like get in that headspace, I guess, right? You
Yeah, for sure.
know.
Yeah, but most local venues don't have green rooms and stuff. So every now and then you get one. You get to play a nicer one. It's pretty cool. But for the most part, like you're just like sitting at the bar or something.
Yeah, I saw on social media like that you were opening for some pretty big names. The one that surprised me the most was Tech Nine, and it was a funny story because I saw you saying that you were opening for Tech Nine, and I'm like, wait a minute, my older brother had a poster of Tech Nine back in like '90 something, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy, like So what was like, I mean, it sounds like you've been opening for some big names. Is that kind of a weird experience, or does that
Yeah,
change it?
well, the Tech Nine was definitely the most. The two I opened for him twice, and the crowds were the energy was crazy, man. It wasn't. Probably, I think the most people I ever performed in front of was like it was like a couple thousand, and the Tech Nine shows were a little bit smaller because they were Showbox Soto and the
Oh,
other
okay.
show. So like one of them was like I think probably like 1,700, one of them probably 1,200, but definitely sold out. But yeah, the energy was real crazy there, man. It was amazing. I mean, one of the shows I got to do my full set. One of them, shout out to my man Knothead, by the way, who put me on at those shows. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have never got to do that. One of them, our set got cut short at the last minute, which happens. I mean, you're an opener, you can sell tickets, you can do everything right, you can promote. But when you're talking about like a touring headliner like that, it just something goes late, they get started late, whatever happens, like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
had 25, now you have 10 minutes, deal with it. So I had like 5 songs I was supposed to do, and I had to cut down to one song. But even that, I mean, just doing that, I went out and said that. I'm like, man, I got one song to do. I had to cut my time. I'm just happy to be here. Shout out to all my technicians, and then just went with it, man. And it was pretty amazing. But yeah, man. I mean, it was just like I said, from a lot of networking, putting myself out there, grinding over the years. That's what I would definitely suggest to any young artist or anyone trying to get involved in entertainment in any way is really just putting yourself out there and finding a way to make it happen. I mean, if you want it bad enough and you have if you have the desire to do it, then you just got to go out there, and there's going to be some failures, and that's part of it. So don't when that happens, don't be discouraged. Keep
Yeah,
going.
just keep grinding, get those reps in, and keep your head up, right?
I mean, I swear that sounds like some kind of Hallmark card, bro. But I mean, it's true. I mean, that there's
It
a reason why
does.
for stereotypes. I mean, just you gotta grind, you gotta fail, you gotta learn, and then
Yeah.
if you stay at it and don't suck. I mean, I guess you can't. You could grind a lot, and if you're terrible, then it's probably not gonna work out. And I'm sorry. Hopefully, your friends tell you. Unlike when someone goes to American Idol and everybody makes fun of them and they're just horrible, and you're like, "What? Don't you have any friends? Like, who would let you?"
Yeah, you like, didn't your family tell you? you know?
Not everybody could rap, and not everybody should be in entertainment. And so tell your friends that are trying and it's not happening. Tell them. But if you if you got a spark, then definitely you got to grind and put yourself out there, man. And, good things will happen, and it may
Right.
not work out
Almost
exactly.
every success story is all about grinding. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I got about what time is it? Dude?
it's about 5:05. I was just gonna like let you
Oh,
go
cool,
because I
cool.
know you're tight for time.
No, yeah, I got 10, 15 minutes. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, damn. All right. So, I mean, we kind of start wrapping this up and stuff. I appreciate your time, though. It's been awesome talking to you and catching up. We should do this again, especially when you start touring again. I'd like to hear some more about like upcoming tours and
Can't wait till venues open up. Yeah, and what COVID has been. I mean, obviously, it's devastated. The whole economy, the world economy. Everybody's. I mean, you can't. I don't need to sit here and
yeah,
say what we all know. But music venues are one of the industries that's been hit really hard. It's kind of it's like movie theaters, but even movie
mm,
theaters are usually national chains. I mean, music venues are almost always independently owned. They're often owned by former musicians who used to tour. Here in Bremerton, there's the Charleston, Andy and Angel. They're touring musicians who just own it for the love of it. They bought the building themselves. They're the only like one of the only all ages with a separate 21 up bar section. One of the only venues like that in the state. There's not a lot
Oh,
of them. Definitely don't get that county because it's a
that's
really
cool.
expensive life insurance. And they do it for the
Yeah.
love of it. And I know there's a ton of venues are like that all across the state. A lot of venues are just owned by musicians or retired musicians who are trying to help foster and create a scene that they were part of when they were younger, and there wasn't a lot of opportunities for them. And these places are being hit hard. I
That's
know that
cool.
just like restaurants. I mean, some of them will never reopen. And to the ones who do,
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I would definitely, say to the ones who do, whenever they do open up, and when it's safe to, you're comfortable or whatever. But I mean, stuff's starting to open back up. It seems like hopefully we're on the right side of things, and definitely go to shows. I mean, go to get in the Stranger, check the listings. Go to go somewhere, find a local venue. It's kind of like trying to support a local restaurant. Once a week in the pandemic. I mean, once the shows start because a lot of these, I mean, even mid-level touring musicians who are, a lot bigger than I ever was, people who are just make a living on the road. I mean, they got,
Hmm.
they just been sitting at home doing nothing. There's nothing for them. They can't perform.
Yeah.
Support your local venue, man. Support your local scene.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I hope that when this is all over and stuff, that the people that make a living off of touring, musicians, comedians, people like that, I hope they can make a comeback, and everybody should go out and support, your local musicians, comedians, and businesses, restaurants, because that's probably the only way we're going to make it back. I mean, it's been pretty devastating for most industries. Um, so,
Yeah,
um,
definitely, bro. Like, and if you're blessed enough to have been working this whole time, then spread the love. I mean, everybody,
yeah,
you should
yeah.
be saving, you should be being smart financially. But I mean, where you can afford it, go to a restaurant, tip good. Just try to keep
Yep.
your local economy because I mean, it's all connected.
Yeah, yeah, and the more supportive we give, we are for them, now and right when things get over, the easier it'll be to kind of bounce back from this. If we don't, then it'll be a long haul
And think
until
about
we're
this, man.
we're kind of out of this.
Think about this, and I'm not the person. I'm not the first person, or I didn't think of this originally. I saw something on Twitter or something that made this point, and I'm sure a lot of people have made this point. But it is, but when the first time I saw it, I was like, man, that's a really good point. So if somebody hasn't heard this, the musicians and the artists that are going, and I've been blessed to. I mean, I got a day job. I've been working this whole time. I'm one of the people that's been really blessed to stay. I've been in am in
Yeah.
retail and industry that's been considered essential. Um, but these musicians and these artists that even that you're a fan of, I mean, people you hear on the radio, I mean, they're not necessarily getting a lot of money. If you haven't been touring and selling a lot of merchandise for years, there's no money in streaming or radio play. So
Right.
the musicians that you're a fan of that are big names that are still they're all struggling and stuff. And is music is but what's got art is what's got us through this pandemic. I mean, what have people been doing? Staying at home, watching TV shows,
Hmm.
watching movies, listening to music. I mean,
Yep.
some of the great music that's been and art that's come out of people being stuck at home. Um, so really, just just support them whatever way you can. Just like go to a local restaurant when you can and tip. I mean, buy somebody's album on iTunes. I mean, pay that $10, and if there's a local or mid level artist or something. I mean, share their music. It just goes a long way. I mean, there's a lot of great art being created out there, and definitely encourage you to go look for it.
Yep. Make sure we help each other out here. So, that way everybody gets out on the other side. So, I'm gonna wrap up. I know you got to go in a little bit, but do you want to like give it, any shout outs or let anybody know about anything, that you know?
Yeah, for sure, man. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to Boomhouse Studios where I'm recording. We got a session coming up, so yeah, that's why I got to keep it moving here. But big shout out to Boomhouse Studios in Bremerton, Washington, near Fred Meyer. $40 an hour, top quality recording, mixing, mastering. This is one of the best studios in the whole state, really. I mean, and you can't beat the price. Christine, the owner and engineer, has been recording, mixing for 20 years. He's really at the top of his game. There's room for bands, for drums. A lot of hip hop and R&B music gets done here. Voiceover work, scoring for movies. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So,
awesome.
Definitely recommend Boomhouse Studios. Shout out to Lions Den Entertainment. Always doing local things for the great things for the local community. We got there's a artist, hip hop artist, Jordy Sam, who is a local producer and rapper. That's the main artist from Lions Den. They got some other artists too. Lions Den 360, but they also do a lot of things for the community. They had a Mayor Greg Wheeler out here for a barbecue cook-off last summer, raised a bunch of money for charity. Shoe drives all the time, backpack drives. So definitely check out Lions Den 360 on Instagram, on Facebook, all that. My name is David Olivas. I appreciate being on this podcast very much. Big shout out to my man Seth. Like him, follow all his stuff.
Thanks,
share
David.
it, you can find me on Instagram. It's at real.olivas. I have a Facebook music page, YouTube, David Olivas. Please subscribe. Check. I got a bunch of music videos on there. My song "Phone Keys Wallet Weed" that may or may not have been borrowed from by somebody you might have heard of. I got.
I wasn't sure if we should talk about that. Maybe on another one.
Yeah, another time. I got some bunch of videos on stuff I'm proud of. So go check it out. It's David Olivas, Olivas. If you like it, please subscribe. YouTube is really the best way to check out what I'm doing. My music is on all major streaming platforms, iTunes, Google Play, all that stuff. David Olivas, Olivas. Yeah, man. Really appreciate everybody tuning in, taking the time to listen. I had a good time on this, man. Yeah, let's definitely do it again.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on, man. I can't thank you enough. So, thanks.
One more thing. One more plug. The Bar Exam Music Reviews is a show that I've been doing with my man Christine of Boomhouse Studios here, and my man D-Mac Uno. We got a special guest host, Tina Perry, coming up on our show. So our next show is going to be Friday, March 12th. Friday, March 12th. We go live. We go live at 7 p.m. on Facebook Live. Eventually we want to go live on YouTube. You gotta have like 1,000 subscribers to do that, which is
wow.
Cool. But we're gonna go live on Facebook at 7 p.m. I'll share the stream. We also have a page on Facebook, Bar Exam Music Reviews. You can send. It's mainly like hip hop and R&B songs. People send them in. We listen to them, rate them, have a good time. A lot of times it's great. Sometimes it's trash and it's hilarious, and we just totally just end people's dreams. You know what I mean? Because
sounds like fun.
There's a couple dudes out there, James. There's a couple dudes that got dartboards with our faces on it. Just
oh no.
For the most part, we try to get honest feedback, man, and really unless it's just like really trash, then we really try to get some constructive feedback and criticism. But yeah, man, it's Bar Exam Music Reviews at gmail.com. You can send in songs, and we are the Bar Exam on Facebook and my page, Christine's page through Boomhouse Studios, and we're just kind of getting started with that, so we're gonna keep expanding that. So
cool, man. I really appreciate it.
Salute.
Salute. Everybody, you can check me out next week. I'll have Janet Travis. She's a Texas-based actress on, and we're going to talk about how she got into the industry and her new production company that her and some other actors are starting. So that should be really exciting, and that'll be next weekend. David, I really appreciate it. Thanks. You have a good day, and keep on hustling, man. That's for your local artist. Thanks, David. Later.